Welcome to the Opinionated Geek podcast. I am your host, John Hanna, and I forgot to unmute my mic, so I was talking there for a little bit, and nothing was coming out. See, this is where I'm at right now. Uh, I feel unorganized, but I'm doing a bunch of different stuff now, because one of the first things I'm going to talk about is what I'm also using again. So I was using what the heck's it called? Uh, XSplit. I was using XSplit. XSplits you actually have to pay for either through a monthly, yearly, uh, lifetime license, and it's overall it's not cheap. The lifetime license costs like $200, but I got a year subscription through a website, and I was just going to use that for my podcasting purposes. But now we're going to be, I guess, going back to what I was. I wasn't originally back to this when I originally started doing this podcast, but I was using regular OBS because it had studio mode. Well, uh, for my gaming purposes, I was using Streamlabs OBS, aka Slobs. And one of the things that was missing was studio mode. And they actually just updated it to have studio mode now. So now I can do things behind the scenes just like I popped that picture up when I wanted it to. So pretty cool. Now that I can do that, I can actually use Streamlabs OBS for everything now. It doesn't have the cool 3D effects that XSplit has, but that's okay. We'll just have to deal with it. It's just easier to use one program. The green screen is going to be the same exact thing, no matter what. Because I'm pretty sure if you go to XSplit, my green screen is going to look different. So you have to adjust it differently, and your lighting's going to have to be different and stuff like that. Or if your lighting's off, because your lighting was good on Streamlabs, and vice versa. So it's good to get one system down and just leave it at that. So we're just going to start using this from now on when it comes to doing the podcast, and I'm going to be happy because it's kind of a pain in the butt to deal with all that stuff. All right, we'll go on to what I've been playing. I've been playing Divinity Original Sin 2 for my new game that I've been streaming since I beat Far Cry 5. Now, I have a real hate for this game, but also a real love for it too. This game is for the most part, computers are very much like consoles now. You buy a game, you start it up, it runs fine. You can plug in a controller, it works right out of the box. It's the computer gaming is the easiest it's ever been nowadays. But occasionally you'll come across a game with a flaw. Divinity Original Sin 2 is definitely got a flaw in it. I originally played it on my old computer, and I want to say it did work fine back then, but I only put 18 hours into it. And I do recall, though, now that I think back to it, that it did have some sound issues. And the sound issues sometimes would, like, literally... That sounded like the bird was actually in the house. But it actually sounded like I think the sound actually completely went away to the point where I actually had to restart the game, and it actually came back up. Now it still cuts off, minutely at small intervals, and it's not that big of a deal. And I thought, well, maybe it's because I'm using a crappy for my computer speaker right now, but it's been working, and I haven't really bothered to upgrade, even though for making music I should eventually upgrade. But I'm using this little crappy iHome speaker that you would use for a cell phone speaker. to play music on the go or whatever. So it's got a rechargeable battery and all that stuff. And every time I just want to, you know, use computer, listen to something on a computer, whether I'm watching YouTube or whatever, I'll just turn this on and use that instead. But it has a threshold, I would say. If the sound is too low, the speaker will actually just cut off because I guess it can't, to save battery because of the way the speaker is designed. It doesn't actually hold a charge, I guess, for that long, so it does whatever it can to save battery. So if it doesn't feel like it's putting out enough, I guess here I am. I mix music and stuff, but I'm probably drawing a blank. Amplitude maybe. So it actually just basically, you could hear the stuff if I'm wearing headphones, but you can't hear it through the actual main speaker. So if I either turn the speaker up, and sometimes that don't even work. Typically, I would have to turn up my audio interface because that's, you know, what's going to pump the sound through the speaker. So once I do that, then the sound comes back on. But even wearing headphones, the sound will still cut off. But when I first originally started playing this game, it started up kind of fine. But then the one day I got a blue screen of death, and I lost the actual exe file. I would actually, when the computer restarted back up, I log on to Steam, and I'm like, okay, where's my Divinity Original Sin 2? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It's not here. So then I would actually go into the file, and exactly as I expected, because it wasn't in the Steam thing, and so literally I would just deleted the whole folder and then reinstall it through Steam again, and all was fine for a little while. I did start getting blue screens of death, but I didn't lose the exe file. And then the other day, when I was almost to the point where I stopped originally, it did it again, and I lost the exe file again. So then I had to re-download the game, and this time I was like, you know what? Maybe it's this OBS thing, because whenever I'm playing the game, I'm streaming it too. And because Streamlabs OBS is still in beta, I'm like, well, maybe it's that. So then I decided I'm going to play when I'm not streaming. Because, oh, that's right, I completely forgot. It actually, when I lost my exe file, I once I installed it, I started up the game, and when I just hit continue, it loaded me for one thing, something popped up and it says this save file is either been tampered with or corrupted, and it's very advised that you don't use this. But it still let me load it. So then I was like, okay. But once it loaded, I realized it wasn't where I was in the game. So it was basically about an hour to an hour and a half behind from where I originally was. And on top of that, then that file was corrupted. So then I needed to go back even a little further. So that's why I didn't mind playing the game while I wasn't streaming. So I was like, you know what? We'll see if it's the Streamlabs OBS. I had to take a break though, because when I get knocked back an hour to 2 hours from where I was, I can't go on. I need to, cool my jets before I punch the screen. And this goes with any game that I've ever played. It's happened on consoles too for me. Just, a save just gets corrupted. I think I originally Oblivion on the 360, I think, did that to me one time. But anyway, in the end, I stopped doing it and gave it a break, and then I went back to it. But before I did, well, no, see, my brain is messed up. I was doing stuff at work, and I'm like, did we get that? yesterday, and sometimes it was even I'm like, did we get that today? And I'm like, I don't even remember getting that. So my brain is kind of like messed up, having a hard time of remembering. It's a little bit scattered right now. So I started to play again, not streaming, and it still gave me a blue screen of death. So I'm like, well, it's definitely not the software then, Streamlabs OBS. So it must be the actual game. So then I started doing some research on what's causing the blue screen of death for Divinity Original Sin 2. And eventually I did get on their frequently asked questions problem solving thing on one of their forums. And there's, this really, really, really long list of stuff that could possibly cause it and what you can do to fix it. So naturally, I go down the list and find the easiest thing to do first and attempt to do that. Uh, so lo and behold, I did the went to the program, the exe file, uh, right clicked it, go to properties, and under the compatibility, I think it's compatibility, I clicked run as administrator, so that no matter what, every time I click on the game, it's going to run at its, I guess, I guess completely opens up to all the possibilities of what the computer has. I don't even know what a run as administrator is. I'm a complete moron for the most part when it comes to stuff like that because I just don't care about IT stuff. I'm like, oh, you got a problem with your Windows? I can fix that. And I'm like, you better just save everything because I'm just gonna wipe it and reinstall Windows. That's how I'm gonna fix your problem. So I'm not the best person to come to when it comes to fixing computers, but it will be fixed by when I'm done with it. You just might not like the outcome, but so yeah, I run it as administrator, and it seemed to be working fine. I actually played for about 4 hours that night, and I even obviously because I've lost 2 hours and I played for 4 hours, I got past where I was, and I even got past where I originally was on my original playthrough. So overall, super super cool game. Uh, I'm doing. I can't remember if I actually went over this or not before. I might have been talking about it at work. I need to stop talking at work, which is weird because usually never talk at work. So overall, really really cool game. I'm doing stuff that I never even did in the original game. Everything's going very smooth. I saved a cat. I didn't save the cat last time. Uh, it it allows me to summon it, and the cool thing is the cat has the ability to move further and faster than I am, but it also has the ability to uh, swap us. So basically, it kind of teleports me to the cat, and the cat goes back to where I was. So it's a great way to move around the battlefield, uh, so you can actually get different places a lot quicker than what you normally would, without having to waste a whole bunch of uh, movement, because you can only move so much in the game per turn because it's a turn based. I would say it's a turn based strategy RPG because the combat is very strategic. If you because you can use the environment, and of course if you are not careful, you can easily die from the environment as well as die from the enemies that you're having to deal with. So it's kind of it's a very nifty game. The story is really starting to take off because when you start the game, you're on a ship and you're going to a prison area called Fort Joy. and basically you're I forget I think you're just called a sorcerer, or yeah, it's a sorcerer. So basically, what you do is they put a collar around you, and you can't use your power. What this power is, I'm really this is the only thing I'm really confused about with the game is this this power that they actually put the collar around your neck. The problem there is it's like, okay, you can still cast magic though. It's really weird because I'm like, well, obviously the collar would be so you can't cast magic at all. But apparently it's only for these special abilities that they want to stop you. Because apparently if you use those abilities, then apparently are you bring forth these uh, creatures of some sort, and that's what they want to stop. So these creatures don't keep on being summoned by these sorcerers. So if you collar them all, then they can't do that. And of course, they go through some sort of de-sorcerizing you, and then they can take the collar off, and you are just basically it's kind of like a lobotomy. You're just basically a husk, from what I gathered. Uh, but overall, the story's really taken off. I've Once you actually escape Fort Joy, then you're on the island and you do quests and stuff, and eventually you get your collar off. Uh, I've done some of the quests that I wasn't able to do. Uh, they got these things called shriekers, and they're basically instant death. If you walk in its area, you're basically going to die. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Uh, I was basically collecting weapons to deal with those things called shriekers, and in the end, I also helped a dragon slash person, and I wouldn't say no, we'll say a person. He's a lizard guy, but main character I'm playing is a lizard character too, even though you can technically choose whoever you want to play in your group. If you want not the lizard guy to, aka the character you made, because you can make any character you want, you can actually have another person in the group lead, and you can actually focus on that person if you want. But I think the story is still going to evolve around kind of your character that you made. But you can choose to start ignoring that character if you're feeling the vibe of somebody else. But I still think the story will actually focus on the character you picked or made. I picked a character because it's I feel like it's a lot better because you're not doing an original generic story. You're doing a pre-scripted story based around a specific character that they made. So I'm the Red Prince. I am a red lizard kin type character. So naturally, the dragon that I saved turned into another dragonkin, and then when he decided to leave, he turned back into a dragon again and flew away. So when it was come time to take care of the Shriekers, I just basically started walking to the Shriekers to get rid of the Shriekers, and surprisingly, the dragon just came by and just destroyed all of them. So I didn't even have to use any of my special weapons or powers or anything like that. So that was kind of cool. Uh, and then of course I fought the one of the characters that was actually like the main guy at the fort. I I thought I killed him, but apparently you don't kill him. You knock them out, and after you do that, then it goes with a cut scene, and the cut scenes are very artsy. They're not like uh, CGI graphics and stuff. They're very like like they're still pictures, but they're like moving and stuff. So it's it's an interesting take on stuff. It kind of looks like a storybook come to life type of thing. Uh, but yeah, and then you get back on the ship, and of course another ship notices that you have left, and of course catches up to you, and it's the person who actually came up with the collars and whatnot, and you basically fight them, and somebody else is in trying to help you you escape at the time, and once you actually escape, then you are in another realm, which that's kind of where I stopped. But yeah, the story's really picking up. I could go into a little bit more detail, but I kind of want stuff to be a little bit of a surprise for everybody. But that's all I'm going to talk about for Divinity Original Sin 2, and I will keep everybody updated. Of course, right here on this channel of my Twitch channel, twitch.tv slash darkmare, that you can actually, I think it's almost up to like a month or 2 months, they hold on to videos. So you can actually, if you want, start from the beginning and go through, and then, you know, when I stream it next time, then you can actually participate in watching me progress through the story if you would like. My next one is going to be on Magic the Gathering again. I know I did a lot of talk about Magic the Gathering last time, and I really don't got a whole lot about Magic the Gathering this time either, but I do want to cover some stuff. I did get my Ultimate Guard deck box, and I guess we'll kind of do a little bit of a review. And my green screen is failing me at the moment. I'm not sure if that's been there the whole time, but I can see that the light is not showing, or is showing. Let's see if I can just adjust the light. Nope, that's not going to work. There we go. There we go. So we are back to normal. So, I really like it. It is a square that's maybe 3 inches by 3 inches when you're talking about the footprint. Lengthwise, it's maybe 6 inches high. And again, like I said, oh, I didn't realize I completely didn't even think about it. It's kind of a greenish color. I would say it's like a sea foam green. They call it petrol, but it's still showing up on the camera though, despite that fact with the green screen and stuff. So the cool thing is it's got 2 compartments, and you can actually open those 2 compartments separately. It's literally in the fashion of a fridge, like an old fridge, not like a new fridge where it's got almost even freezer spaces and stuff. But so it's got a small, what I would call a little freezer space up top, and a larger, like the main fridge area, which holds your deck. Now, it is a very, 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 very nice deck box. I really like it. My only complaint so far is it's got this very nice suede type microfiber on the inside of it, and it makes it feel nice. It makes it feel professional, or I would say not professional, but like nice quality. But the downfall, I feel like, is when you're pulling the stuff out, is it sticks to that suede microfiber type thing. But the nice part about the outer shell, though, is because of the way it's designed, it does tend to hide or not get any scuffs on it, and it does also have some grip to it. So, highly recommend it. Ultimate Guard. I did see at Walmart just recently. I didn't even know they made it, but it's a lot cheaper, I think. But again, I feel like they've copied off of Ultimate Guard. But Ultra Pro has their version. It's a little bit smaller. It only does 80 plus cards. The one that I got is 100 plus cards. So if you do, I think it's called a Commander deck. Again, I'm fairly new to Magic the Gathering again. It's been 21 years since I played, and I just haven't found out all the details of what's going on within those 21 years. But anyway, I actually missed Friday Night Magic also last week, so I've still only gone to one Friday Night Magic. But this Friday I'm planning on going back. Uh, and actually, kind of hopefully it's died down a little bit because my first Friday Night Magic it was uh five what you call it games that I had to play, and all that's great. I got to do the experience, but it was 7 o'clock when they started, and by the time I actually was getting home, it was around 1 o'clock, and I just wasn't prepared for that, especially being antisocial and trying to get a little bit more social, and being around those bodies. The headache started getting pretty bad. It was just kind of annoying after a while, but I did have fun overall. But within this week, it was pretty awesome. I actually would get packs of cards here and there, and I went to my local shop where I would actually do Friday Night Magic, and I bought 2 packs along with a game mat or a play mat. Yeah, let's talk about play mats for a second here. I literally thought play mats were a gimmick. They were stupid, pointless. It's just basically the something to lay your cards on, and you didn't need one. Now, I'm not sure if this is a conspiracy or not, but when I went to that Friday Night Magic for the first time, the tables they had, when you actually shuffled your cards, the proper etiquette is to hand over your deck to the other person so they can cut it. So that way, I guess, to make sure that you weren't messing with the actual shuffle, and you knew some technique on how to fake a shuffle to make sure you know what cards were on top. So you cut the deck. So I would hand over my deck, and then the other person would hand over theirs. I would cut it, and then when I would go to hand the deck to him, I literally could not get the bottom couple cards because of the way the table is. Now, again, it's a plastic type table where it's got like an acrylic top to it. Now, I'm curious if I would go to other Magic stores that sell the cards and do Friday Night Magic if they have similar tables. But one thing I noticed was when I would grab the cards off the people with the play mats, I wouldn't have any issues picking them up from there. So it's almost like that, at least that store, they're like purposely got tables that make you want to get a playmat. So I went out and got one. I even bought one that I didn't even like. I actually wanted kind of a specific one, but I also wanted to support the local comic book shop. So I actually got one that I didn't even want. So later, I'll get the actual one that I wanted. I was surprised I didn't have it, but it was just basically one of the cards from the new set of Dominaria. One of the characters. I wanted that playmat, and they didn't have it. So, oh well. But when I bought those 2 cards, so far the best I've pulled was I pulled a Weatherlight foil, which is pretty awesome. It's cool to get a mythic card, let alone a mythic foil. It's from my experience, foils are very, very hard to come by. Hence why they're, I think the Weatherlight's like a couple bucks, but you get the foiled one and it's like worth $10. So it does up the price very much. So I wasn't expecting a whole lot. I never expect a whole lot because I don't have good luck in general. But I said, give me 2 packs of cards, and I opened a bump in the card, or in the car, and I surprisingly got Teferi Heroes of Dominaria, and I'll put it up here. Let me do a quick search. I'm not sure if it went up or down, but Planeswalkers are fairly hard to get. The only ones that I guess is going to be very easy to get is if you do what I did and got a couple of the pre-made cards, or the pre-made decks. So right now, the most roughly that Teferi Hero of Dominaria is going for the non-foiled version is $38.49. So nonetheless, you spend $4 for a pack of cards, and I got a $40 card out of that. So that was awesome in and of itself. So some things recently happened today, and I'm still deciding, or not today, yesterday, and I'm deciding on some stuff that I want to do, but money is tight right now, dramatically all of a sudden. So I figured after work, I was going to get some stuff for dinner, but then I was like, you know what? I'm going to get one last card pack until this money situation is relieved of itself. So I went over to Target, got my food, and then I went over to the Magic area, and I got one pack. And I was like, how I was originally doing it was I basically got a couple mythics out of Target already from the packs that I bought. So what I was going to do, I was like, well, since I've actually already gone through it a lot, like I would actually just take one right off the peg. And I'm not sure how their boosters work. I know in a box of Magic boosters, you only get roughly around 5 mythics. And basically my luck was running out at this point. So I was like, you know what? I'm never going to probably get another mythic, but you know what? We're going to try to do it anyway. So when I went for the cards, I actually grabbed the first 6 packs the first 5 packs, pull it out and get the 6th one out of off the peg. And I just had a sudden urge that I'm like, well, maybe they restocked. It kind of looks like they restocked. I'm just going to take the first one like I've always been doing. And I'm so happy I did, because I wasn't expecting to get this card at all. I still want a couple cards, but I still want the mocks, mainly because when I first started playing, we were at 4th edition, and so it wasn't that far. It was only a few years out from the alpha and beta Magic the Gathering. And the Amber Mox was still the card that I wanted because it was a Mox. And, back in those days, the Black Lotuses and the Moxes were the cards. They're still the cards. They're worth thousands of dollars now. But it would still be cool just to say, oh, I have a Mox for Magic the Gathering, even though it's not those Moxes. So, lo and behold, though, I wasn't expecting to get this guy, but I pulled him out. And for the audio listeners, for when I upload this is Karn, Scion of Urza. I have no idea. I'm sure there's a long history of Magic. I just don't know the history as of right now. But he looks like Alfonso from Full Metal Alchemist. But I guess he's some sort of construct or maybe even a golem. But he has his hand on a globe and he's has a book open and whatnot. Ironically, I do have a artifact deck that I'm actually working on, and he is a colorless, so he's kind of like an artifact. In fact, his colors make him look like an artifact, but it says Legendary Planeswalker Karn, so he's not an artifact. But his powers are reveal the top 2 cards of your library. An opponent chooses one of them. Put that card into your hand and exile the other with a silver counter on it. So it's like, it's almost like Russian roulette. You pick 2 cards off the top of your deck, and your opponent takes one of them to exile, or picks one of them to actually hold in your hand, and then you have to exile the other one. But due to the fact that you put a silver counter on it, is kind of proving a point that there's something else. His other power is you put a card you own with a silver counter on it from exile into your hand. So you can basically just get that card right back if it was actually a really good one. And of course his final power, and this is the awesome power if you have a artifact deck, says create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token with this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. So naturally, if you have an artifact deck and you have 6 artifacts out on the playing field, that's a 6/6 creature. And the cool thing is right off the bat, he's got a power of 5. How planeswalkers do stuff is his first power you can do at a +1. So if he has a power of 5 when you first bring him out, that brings him up to a 6. Uh, to use the second power, it's a -1. So if you did do the first power and he goes up to a 6, and then you do the second power, that goes down back down to a 5. And his third power is -2. So you can bring him out and not even have to plus him, and you can have 2 of the artifact constructs with, if you had 6 artifacts out, you could have 2 6/6s fairly easily. And if you're curious about the Teferi of Hero of Darminaria, his powers are draw a card at the beginning of the next end step, untap 2 lands. His second power is put target non-land permanent into its owner's library, third from the top. And then his last power, which Karn is only -2 for his last power. This guy is -8 for his last power. So you kind of realize how powerful Karn can be. For Teferi's last power, though, you get an emblem with whenever you draw a card, exile target permanent and opponent controls. So pretty nice. But the cool thing is Karn is the most expensive card right now in the Dominaria set. So naturally, it's not a foil, sadly, but it is still the most expensive card, whether it's a foil or non-foil. It is going for $68.39 for a non-foil one. So for one card, or for one pack for $4, I say I made out pretty good, especially since it was one of those ones where I'm like, this is the last pack I'm going to get in a while. I hope it's a good one. It definitely was. All right, I guess we'll get on to news now. GameStop's, let me get this up. GameStop's CEO unexpectedly resigns. Now, I don't know why this is considered unexpectedly. I guess because nothing was really boiling. But my thought was he got in here, and it wasn't very long before he realized GameStop's a sinking ship right now. There's just too much that's happening right now with stuff moving digitally and just retail in general falling behind and slowly dying in a brick and mortar way. And I think they're just who just took over as CEO in February has already stepped down. So it's only been a few months and he's already out the door. He says it's due to personal reasons, but we all know that's not true. So, I mean, well, obviously it's for personal reasons because he personally thinks the company's going down the crapper. I try to stay not PC, but I try not to curse too much and make it as family friendly as possible. But I still like to want to have my opinions. But yeah, GameStop. It's a sinking ship, and it's like you might as well get out now. In fact, just about, I would say almost a lot of these single sources, what they're doing is going to fail. Single sources, what I mean is you're focused on one specific thing. Now you got your Walmarts and your Targets. It's like, yes, they sell games, and when games are doing bad, they got other stuff in the store, like not just Funko Pops, but they actually have stuff in the store that people need and want and will buy. And it goes back and forth. If betting isn't doing well at that time of the year, then there's other stuff. There's automotive, there's toys, there's GameStop has games and Funko Pops, essentially. In fact, I would say they're barely games in general. And it's really weird because I've only moved down to North Carolina uh back in 2008. And it's amazing just within that short amount of time, and this has nothing to do with whether I moved down to North Carolina or not. It's just the fact that within that short amount of time, how much has changed within those years. You had a very game centric type store, and now it's not. It's almost turning into almost like a Barnes and Noble. Barnes and Noble's getting pretty bad too. Their games section in Barnes and Noble has been slowly getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the books have been getting sections have been slowly shrinking, and it's really surreal to start to see this stuff. But I understand because I'm the same way. If I can get a book in digital, I'll get a book in digital. Well, now I actually go for the audiobooks over even the digital books. But if it's a study, if it's something I have to study for, or if it's like a history book of some sort, then I typically want to have a physical book so I can flip back and forth very quickly. I know some people that are just like, give me a PDF. I'll just search for stuff that I want to find. I guess I can get that and understand that, but I can't do it in digital. I have to have a physical book. I like to physically flip back and forth between certain sections and go over stuff as I am learning a subject. But yeah, GameStop sinking ship, and it makes sense that the CEO would be that just got in there February would just bail already. So yeah, he said for personal reasons, but we all kind of know why he bailed. And speaking of bailing or failing or something, uh, Cliffy B calls it quits on Boss Key. It, I don't know the drama that he's actually brought into the gaming world. I want to say I heard rumblings a little bit of it, but and obviously I'm hearing comments now all about what he said some negative stuff to the actual gaming community in a pompous way. And I've had my little online run in with Cliffy B as well, where I basically just said I didn't like Gears of War, and he kind of like basically kind of cursed me out. At the time, I didn't even think it was Cliffy B. Then I actually went and did a little bit of studying and found out the person that whose page I was actually talking to actually did know him of some, uh, whether it was through cons or something, but he had actually personally sent her a whole bunch of Gears of War stuff, and that was apparently him who was speaking to me at the time. And I did say I liked Unreal Tournament because he was a part of Unreal Tournament, and again, I like the Unreal series, and Unreal Tournament was amazing. I just didn't think Gears of War was all that great. But with the failure of Lawbreakers, and then the obvious trying to get money together to save themselves from the devastation that was Lawbreakers, they came out with this really quick game, battle royale game called Radical Heights, and they even made the mistake of saying extremely early access because they were trying to use them this cool '90s vibe, like eat, drink Mountain Dew and eat Doritos type vibe. So they use even BMX bikes are in the game and stuff, and it could have been a cool thing, but you called it extremely early access. People have enough problems in general with early access. Don't say whether it's you're using it as a theme. Don't say extremely early access, even though it really was. Because again, like I said the other week when I was doing this podcast, somebody even was in a Twitch chat, and they said, oh, it's great that people are still making games for the Nintendo 64. And of course, I cracked up laughing when I heard that because yeah, there's no text, there was no textures on the wall. It was just basically basic colors. And every once in a while, you could see, oh, look, somebody did something to the world, but it was a very, very plain, basic world. And then, of course, you could see that he was tight on things because then he went after Epic, his old partners. Actually, not partners. He worked for Epic before, but saying that you're stealing my talent. Again, like I said originally with that whole situation, I feel like the talent was leaving him. They didn't have to, scout and steal any of his talent because they saw the writing on the wall. All you had to do was look at what people were saying with this Radical Heights thing, and they were like, "We need to get the heck out of here." And again, I feel like Cliffy B was chasing. Ever since he opened Boss Key, he was chasing instead of seeing what was actually going to happen. What was going to be the next big thing, and go after that. We already kind of have established the battle royale scene. There's two games. I'm not saying there can't be more, but you have to. It's just like the Windows Phone situation. You had iOS come out there, and then I'm not sure when Android actually came out, whether it was a year later or something like that, but it was fairly not too long afterwards. And even iOS took a long while to get a lot of stuff like copy and paste and all that stuff. But then Windows Phone comes along and says, "Oh, hey, we got an operating system for our phone too." And people are like, "Oh, really? What's it got?" It's like, well, it's kind of like iOS when it originally came out. And people were like, "Well, why would I want it then? iOS has been out. It's actually grown up and finally got some of the features that we actually wanted from the get go. And now you're bringing out something and it doesn't even have those options that iOS should have had to begin with." And that's exactly the same way it is with Radical Heights. Radical Heights, you have to, you kind of had what you call it, a Fortnite color scheme vibe to it, but it had a more realistic character look to it, like PUBG. Not really, but it kind of did. So you combine the two, but you're still in beta access, extreme beta access. So why should I go over there and play your game? You need to, at that point, you need to either start on the level of Fortnite or PUBG and get better when you first come out of the door, or you need to be better coming out of the door right from the get go. Now, I'm not saying stuff can't come along and do something really cool and unique in the Battle Royale scene, but as of right now, no. In fact, I would say right now, you're going to have a whole bunch of AAA uh, developers bringing out these battle royale modes for other games. There's already talks of, well, do you think they're going to come out with like a Halo battle royale? Are they going to come out with a Call of Duty battle royale? Are they going to come out with a Battlefield battle royale? Which I kind of feel that's kind of weird and pointless. It's Battlefield. It's a freaking Battlefield. You don't need a battle royale. But Call of Duty, has your small maps and stuff, and like, well, maybe we should make a big map and just have a one versus 100 or one, squad versus squad type of stuff. Uh, and I'm like, unless you're going to do something unique, you can't just say we're Call of Duty and now we have a battle royale mode. Nobody cares. Why would I spend $60 for a game when I got Fortnite? Although it's not very realistic, but guess what? It's fun. Why would I do that and spend $60 when I can go play Fortnite for free? PUBG's starting to realize that. I think PUBG needs to actually maybe go back on what they were planning on doing and charging $30 no matter what, and actually maybe open it up for free and get better skins and stuff like that. Now they are doing some stuff that is better, and they'll get there, I'm sure. But they're doing everything so slow. Uh, Fortnite is busting out stuff on a regular basis. I mean, they got the Fortnite Battle Royale up and running within, I think it was 2 months. And then, they're like, here, have some freaking Thanos. How about some guided rockets, some of this, some of that. And then, of course, PUBG's like, we'll get a new map out to you in about a year. And it's like, oh, what do we got for this update? Nothing. Nothing. Oh, we finally got a gun. It's a new gun. It's a new gun, guys. Nobody cares. You want to make the game fun. You can do it competitively. You can still have your seriousness, but you also got to have your fun too. But they're two different vibes. Like the PUBG is trying to go for the more serious esports thing, which they're not esports. I mean, I saw I seen that there was tournaments now on Twitch being played, but just don't care. Anyway, I guess we'll move on. It sucks that Cliffy B is ending video games. Well, he's taking a break from it, so he's not, I guess, going to be doing video games for a while, and it might be best to. I mean, he got lucky real young. I forget when he actually started, but he's still young now. So, and he's been in the business for, I guess, like 25 years now, probably. It seems like it anyway. Maybe less? I don't know. Time is almost an illusion to me anymore. It's either going by too fast, or when you look back, it's not very distant in the past. Time's weird to me. Anyway, let's move on to some hardware. This kind of blew my mind. Only because the Steam controller was designed to be upgradable. AKA, you can swap parts out, you can upgrade it, mod it, whatever. Never once did I hear that it had a Bluetooth receiver in it. So it was very odd to me, because I'm like, you always have those videos where they take apart stuff and they're like, oh, look what's in here, look what's in there. And I'm like, I didn't hear anything that this thing had a Bluetooth receiver. And then all of a sudden, they're bringing out this the Steam app. They're going to upgrade it. I'm not sure if they're going to use the actual Steam app that they already have on the phones, or if it's going to be a brand new app. But anyway, they're going to basically bring the Steam Link options to an app, whether it's the Steam app that I have on my phone currently, or a new app. So essentially, what you're going to be able to do is going to be able to, on your Wi-Fi system at home, you'll be able to stream your games to your tablet and play them. But in order to do that, due to the fact that most of your games don't have touch interfaces, you need to find some way to play them. So controller's the best way. So naturally, they're like, well, we're just going to make our YouTube or our Bluetooth receiver that's been in the Steam controller for a couple years now that we didn't say a dang thing about, and we're just going to turn it on so you can actually use the Steam controller as a Bluetooth controller then. I'm like, holy crap. And I like the Steam controller. And when I found out it's got even more capabilities by having a Bluetooth in it, I'm like, this is awesome. So, yeah. Once it's in beta right now, so if you do the Steam beta option, you can actually update the firmware for the Steam controller, and then you can get freaking Bluetooth. That's pretty awesome. Anyway, so that is that. Now, on to more hardware. I'm losing my mind right now. Uh, finally, they're bringing back the NES Classic Edition. Possibly the worst time because of my current money situation now, but overall, pretty awesome. I was able to get a hold of the around. Was it around Christmas? Yeah, it was around Christmas because yeah, that was when my mom gave me exactly $80. I think that's yeah, $80. I think for Christmas, and I was like, cool. I'm not. I don't know what I'm going to get. I don't. I just hold on to it, and lo and behold, like a week later, I was even talking about how hard these things were get, and it was a week later after Christmas, and then I guess all of a sudden Nintendo's actually shipping them. Like, isn't that convenient, Nintendo? You wait until after Christmas when people can't get a hold of them for Christmas presents. Now all of a sudden they're available. So I was able to get a Super NES Classic, and I love it. I obviously hacked it right away, and I did add some games that I never owned. But then again, there's a lot on the NES or the Super NES Classic in general that, although I knew they were good games, I just never got to purchase them and never got to own them. So there was still a lot on there, but the couple games that I wanted to have, like I never owned Chrono Trigger, but I'm like I have to have it on this little thing so I can play it whenever I kind of want. So I put that on there and a few other ones that I kind of knew I wanted on there. But for the most part, I did basic stuff. I did the couple games that I wanted that I never owned, and then I actually I think I did a almost 100% job uh, with getting my list right. But I added all the games that I owned as a kid for the Super Nintendo. So my old Super Nintendo collections on the Super NES Classic, and so now that they're bringing out the NES Classic Edition, and they will continue to produce it until the end of 2018. So hopefully, everybody that wanted one will be able to get one now. So I'm definitely going to be trying to get a hold of one, uh, especially since they're apparently not going to have a virtual console anymore. So we'll definitely want to do that and get that. Yeah, and hopefully it still stays to $60 because that's definitely a lot more doable and tolerable. The $80 price tag on the Super NES Classic, that was a little that was a little rough to pull the trigger on. But again, Super Nintendo I still feel like is the best system ever created. So end of June is coming out, and it's going to be continuing to be produced until the end of 2018. So I think everybody should be able to get a hold of it because once they were making the Super Nintendo available, that roughly people could buy, I was seeing it on a regular basis. I mean, granted, you would see it and then the next day it would be gone, but within like a week later, you would see it again for another day. So the Super Nintendo Classic was able to be purchasable, I feel, for most everybody. And then hopefully with this, we'll be able to actually own one if we were not able to get one. Anyway, now we're on to movie talk. This is going to be a short thing. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but Willow. They're talking about making Willow 2. I want to say they even said, yeah, Willow 2 is in development, confirmed Ron Howard. So, my guess is in development means Jack. Yeah, we'll just leave it at jacked. It doesn't mean anything. It could be a flash in the pans. And to be honest with you, I don't even know why they're making a Willow 2. Not because I don't necessarily want it, but A, go look at the prices of Willow, whether it's DVD or Blu-ray. I have the DVD, and I got it around 2001, 2002 ish. It came out when I was living in Montana, and I got my parents to get me that when it came out on DVD. Because I originally had the VHS, but I let somebody that I worked with borrow it. Borrow it. Don't ever let people borrow stuff. They're just going to take it. So naturally, he moved. Uh, then he stopped working for the restaurant that I was working at, and I've just never seen it again. But it actually had this cover. It's if you search for Willow movie poster, and it has that. It had that on the actual VHS box. Uh, I guess there's a couple of them, but it's the red one where it shows Mardigan's face, and then Sorcia's face, and then Willow's face, and then it also had you could see General Kale in the background with Queen Bagmorta raising her hand, and then in between, kind of like on Mardigan's shoulder, it's I think it's Willow. It's hard to tell. Holding dang, I forget her name now. It's the baby who Laura Dannon, who they were actually trying to protect, and then this is I don't know why it's hard. My one friend told me that it's basically when I'm because I'm showing pictures, I'm not being very descriptive, and I want to take that to heart and try to describe what I'm talking about. Me saying search for Willow movie poster, it's going to come up with a whole bunch of stuff because I actually did this search, but so I want to kind of give you an idea of what it is and what I'm talking about. So for people that are doing the watching me, which there are none right now, but that'll change when I upload to YouTube. I'll get thousands of people watching me. No, I won't. But in the on the left hand side, down at the bottom, it actually has Willow, a Lord, or is it Sorcia? I think it's Sorcia. It might be Sorcia. It's hard to see down here on the screen. And Willow, and I think Willow is piggybacking on Mardigan. I think that's how it is. If not, it's a Lord Dannon on piggybacking on Mardigan and Willow walking, but that seems a little bit tall, so I'm going to assume it's Sorcia. This was my favorite movie, and still is a favorite movie. I was going to say as a kid, it's still one of my favorite movies of all time. It's what I feel got me interested in the what I would say magic and witchcraft and all that stuff. It also got me interested in fantasy in general. I still, to this day, I could read tons of different genres of books, but I'm like nothing beats a hardcore fantasy novel. No, that's just stupid. Nothing beats a great fantasy story, to me anyway. I don't care if it's somebody's life. I mean, it could be somebody that's changed the world, like Martin Luther King or Gandhi or whatever. I'm like, that's great and all, but come on, read Lord of the Rings. No, but no, I absolutely love fantasy, and so yeah, Willow, I have to give 100% credit for that because it got my imagination going as a young kid, and still, to me, to this day, nobody's done that in that way, that in that fantasy world, and I kind of have a problem with that, and I'm not sure what it is. It's like even Lord of the Rings and even Game of Thrones, they're fantasy, but I feel like, and I've done like the history and stuff, and uh, Tolkien's work, he was describing kind of the current events and the war and stuff like that, and the different things. Hello, how are you doing? And the different things represented different things in the actual physical world. And I'm not sure if that's the way it is with Game of Thrones, but there's a very select few fantasy things in those worlds. Where when I watched Willow, uh, everything was fantasy. Uh, just like little tiny little things that it really got your imagination going. It's almost like the Never-Ending Story. Like it got your imagination going. It's like that freaking rock talks, you know, stuff like that. It really got your imagination going and thinking of possibilities. And that's what I like about Willow, and I guess even a lot of like the '80s fantasy movies. They really tried to get your imagination going. Where although Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and stuff like that, they're telling a really great story, but everything kind of has a specific purpose. It's not just to get your imagination going. It's to tell a story, an amazing story, nonetheless. But uh, they're using fantasy, I feel, as a tool to sell the story. Where Willow is like, this is fantasy, and this is what we love, and it gets your juices flowing. Sorry, I think I'm going off track. But anyway, they're thinking about doing a Willow 2. My issue is, and I need to get to watch, or not watch, read them, but there are two books related to the Willow movie. And I can't remember if they're prequels or sequels. But what I've understood is they're not very good compared to the film. In fact, most people say they don't even need to be made, type of thing. So I'm not sure what they're going to do for Willow 2. Uh, Val Kilmer has been dealing with, I think it was some sort of cancer. I want to say it was throat cancer, but that might be wrong. It maybe I'm just thinking because his throat, due to the fact that he has cancer, it looked very like a turkey, not turkey, like a chicken neck type thing. So maybe that's why I'm thinking throat cancer. But he was having to deal with cancer. He doesn't look like he's in shape. He does update his Facebook every once in a while, but I don't think he probably could actually do something like this. I think Warwick Davis could easily do it. Uh, and I forget her name, but the person who plays Sorsha, I'm not sure. I haven't even seen her in forever. I don't even know what she looks like nowadays. But I imagine she would probably do it, because what else is she doing? That's probably being ignorant of me. But it doesn't look like she would be doing a whole lot. But my thing is like, okay, then you have a Laura Dannon all grown up. I mean, what's the story going to be about? I would, to me, it would be easier to do a prequel, but then of course, then you wouldn't have Warwick Davis, you wouldn't have Man Mardigan, you wouldn't have probably a whole lot. You wouldn't have Laura Dannon, you wouldn't have anybody except for maybe what you call it. No, you probably don't want to have Sorsha. I don't know what you would do, but they're in talks of making a Willow 2, and that's cool, and I hope it turns out well, but I'm not sure if I really want one. But anyway, I think I'm going to be done this podcast. I will upload it on YouTube on Thursday, and you can just search for the Opinionated Geek podcast on YouTube, or I'm not sure if you can actually search for Darkmare on YouTube. I still don't got enough like followers and all that stuff to get my own professional. And professional, I mean, it's not very professional at all. But my custom youtube.com /darkmare. But of course, you can always watch the video on demand for free until they take it off of here. And then you can go to theopinionatedgeek.com and check out an audio version if you want, or search. You should be able to search almost any podcast app and find it there. And if you can't, email me at darkmare@gmail.com and let me know so I can figure out what's going on with that. Anyway, thanks for those who watched the stream, and I might come back on later tonight to stream some more Divinity Original Sin 2. If not, definitely tomorrow. Anyway, I'll see you all later.